Hello friends and sunflowers, welcome to my channel. My name is Lena. So as you probably know, TXT's The Dream Chapter has come to a close. We got Minisode 1, which was advertised to be a transitional chapter between the Dream Chapter and the chapter that came next. And at the end of the MMA 2020 performance, we saw the Chaos Chapter, which was a big reveal basically of the next chapter. For a long while, there was a very prominent theory that the Love chapter would be next because behind Namjoon in the Persona music video, on the blackboard there is Dream, Love, Happiness. And this kind of felt like it was mirroring what was going on with BTS, where they did Persona, Shadow, and Ego. So with them focusing on that, people were like, oh, TXT has the Dream chapter, so they're gonna be Dream, Love, Happiness. So the Love chapter was probably the most common theory for what the next chapter would actually be called. We were wrong! You've heard me mention it a few times. The Chaos chapter is the next chapter because of that performance. I know there's some people who are like, oh, are you sure though? Because big hit. I'm pretty sure, and the reason why is because this is not the first time that they've revealed something specifically at the MMA performances. In 2019, they gave us the album, the subtitle album for Eternity, at the end of that performance. So I'm very inclined to believe that the next chapter is really going to be called the Chaos Chapter. I don't know why they would give us a name that we hadn't even been speculating as a fandom and then suddenly change it. So I'm like 99% sure that the Chaos Chapter is the next chapter. I think some people are scared of being wrong, and that is totally okay. You're allowed to be scared of being wrong, but just remember that, sometimes you gotta be wrong in life. If you're really worried about it being wrong, just blame me. Just be like, you know what, Lena told me that it was 100% gonna be the Chaos Chapter, and it wasn't. So, if that happens, sorry. It's okay, it's all good. Don't burn yourself. Also, the word chaos was actually hinted at the end of the Eternally music video, which is the last TXT Universe music video that we actually got. The last sentence was like, the boys did not know that this was but the start of the chaotic turmoil. So we did get a slight hint that it was going to be chaos, although there's no way I would have just picked out that one word specifically to be the next chapter name. But I'm happy that it is. However, the only thing that they did 100% give us was the main title, which is the Chaos Chapter. They did not give us a subtitle. So I decided we would have a little fun as a fandom here on this channel, and I asked everyone what they thought the subtitle for this album was going to be called. So in the Dream Chapter, we had the Dream Chapter Star, the Dream Chapter Magic, and the Dream Chapter Eternity, and I was like, well, what is it going to be? The Chaos Chapter, the what? And I combed through your responses, kept some ideas in mind, saw what you guys were saying, and I've compiled a list of some of my favorites that I think have a good shot of at least being the right theme for what the subtitle that it is. I've got 5 main ones, a handful of other ones, and then just some ideas that I don't think anyone covered. I didn't really see anyone talking about it, but I could see Big Hit just going out of left field and picking. So, let's get started. I kind of messed up on that, but we'll just keep going. Before we get any further, I did just want to say that, this is entirely speculation. This video is not meant to be taken 100% seriously. Lena knows all the answers. I know it's a joke that I work for Big Hit. I do not work for Big Hit. I don't know all the answers. Let's just have fun together. Okay, so before diving into these titles, I did want to go over a theory that I think a lot of people subscribed to. As far as I'm aware, this theory actually originated in my own Discord server, which I have. You can join it in the links below. And this is the smaraldo's theory. Someone mentioned that it looked like the subtitles, if you took the first letter of the subtitles, it looked like it was spelling out the word smaraldos, like the smaraldo flower. The smaraldo flower is part of the BTS universe's story. Jin picks it up and buys it in his infinite time loops, and it generally means the truth untold, which is just words that you couldn't end up saying. There's a whole song on it on BTS. Big Hit made a whole actual blog and story, backstory on this flower, because it's not a real flower in our reality, but in this story it is in fact a flower that exists and has a legend around it. So the fact that it might be spelling out smaraldos is very interesting, because we've got Star, Magic, and Eternity, which would be SME. So in theory, the Chaos Chapter has to be RAL, Smaral, and then DOS would be whatever the third chapter is, smaraldos. Thinking of that, we know that this one, if we subscribe to that theory, has to be the letter R. And I do want to say it could just be a total coincidence that this has started to spell out smaraldos and have nothing to do with it, but it's fun to consider, and I wanted to talk about it because I've seen people comment about it as well. So yeah, the first suggestion that happens to go directly into this theory is the Chaos chapter recall or rescue. There were a lot of ideas that started with R, some of which I'll talk again later about, but recall and the idea of like rescuing, I feel like are really good concepts. It fits in with that whole memory aspect that we have, and the whole rescue thing, the fact that Taeyeon's arc is probably coming next, and him finding clues that could go into like rescuing them somehow, like solving their problems. So I do think that it's possible. That and the idea that we might need to rescue Yeonjun, or rewind Yeonjun's time yet again. Another way to think of it is the word escape, so the Chaos chapter escape. I feel like the theme of rescuing, escaping, and remembering, just realized those two aren't really related, but it's fine. We're already this far in, we gotta keep going. I think it relates to the TXT universe really well, and especially the remembrance idea is very thematically in tune with the smaraldo idea as well, because of what the flower stands for. So yeah, I think this is a really good idea, concept. The only thing is that I'm not entirely sure if it ties in with the like dual concept that they have. So they always seem to talk about their storyline, but using metaphors for growth or things like that. So I do feel like it's possible that rescue or recall is too on the nose for it to be a possibility. But I did want to include it because I think it would be really cool if they did in fact include it that way. The Chaos chapter shatter or fragment. So this idea came around very recently after the performance of the We Lost the Summer on SMA, like a week ago. In the background of that performance, before it even started, there was a gem crystal thing that immediately shatters. I do think that this is kind of referencing the state of their friendship, the state of the world, because We Lost the Summer is sort of about that. But it also ties into themes in their upcoming album, I'm betting. Like, everything falling into chaos kind of feels like everything is falling apart, shattering into fragments, and I just feel like these two specific words are really good key words that I could see them using in the title. Plus, there's so many ways that you can build upon these words that make sense in multiple situations, not just the storyline, so it'd be easier to write songs about this particular theme. Not only that, but it would introduce so many new layers to the story, because if you have shattering time, and like, I've mentioned this, I think in Enhypen's story, I talked about this a lot. Shattering glass has to do with like time, especially in reference to Jin in BTS. When the glass shatters, he goes back in time. So this is like the glass falling apart. Are they going back in time again? I don't know. I'm not sure how intertwined that performance is with the TU, but they usually add these hints in. And this shape actually reminds me of these like weird shapes that we saw in the MGMA performance back in like 2019. It was in the background behind them during the second half of the performance. It was amongst these constellations, and at the time I had no idea what they were. They just kind of looked like gem mountainous forms in the background. But it makes me think of that. So it's possible that we did get a hint for that a long time ago. Which I guess is the only caveat for this, is that I don't really see like the word fragment being used all that often in their song lyrics or in previous works, but that doesn't mean that they won't choose it. Also, the fragments, I don't know why, but they kind of make me think of like the star, maybe because it's a crystal, I don't know. So it might tie into the star in that sense as well. The Chaos chapter stasis. The word stasis means inactivity or to stop or halt movement. This also relates heavily to the idea of balance, because this is something that TXT needs to find. They need to find their balance within all of this chaos. I just find it a really like attractive of a title because it's opposite of the word chaos. So we know TXT likes opposites. I think it's a possibility because it's an opposite. Likewise, TXT has a lot of allusions to time and time travel and like clocks and stuff like that. They want to remain in the moment, and stasis is definitely about staying still. It does make me think of Zelda a little bit, like Breath of the Wild, because That's a thing that you do in that game. But it's such a good word on how the boys are like wanting to be feeling, with maybe the exception of Pumgyu. But yeah, I think this is a really good option. I don't have a lot to say about it. I just think it goes really well. Next is, of course, the Chaos chapter, Nightmare. Okay, this is a really popular idea going around. First is that there's the idea of opposites like I was talking about, except in this sense it's a thematic opposite. So we just had the dream chapter, so now this would be the chaos chapter, but nightmare, which is the opposite of a dream. I did see a theory going around where it's like each subtitle was the opposite of the subtitle, so the opposite of star. For some reason it kept putting scar, which I don't understand how that's the opposite, but like black hole or something like that could be the opposite of a star, which I'll get into in the future. But if we take this opposites theme and we choose nightmare, I really like this one. I feel like this one is really like on point, on theme, makes sense. It's a good contender. And we've actually had several lyrical allusions to the word nightmare as well. And the idea that they're trapped in a nightmare. Please stop. This recurring nightmare every night. Your hand that's just out of reach. Now tell me, the name lingering on my lips, the memory of this sad dream. That was from the Eternally song, and in that same music video, the word nightmare is referenced again, and it says, "The boys asked as they wandered the nightmare maze, are there no other choices for us?" So the idea that this is going to showcase a nightmare scenario that is in chaos is just so prominent and definitely something I can see them doing. I also think like there's a lot of interesting musical things that you can do with the nightmare theme as well, so I could see them making a whole album off of it. The only reason that I feel like they would be against this idea is that it's actually kind of like obvious. Not that that's a bad thing, but I do think that Big Hit likes to stray away from things that are really obvious. But speaking of obvious, we're gonna go and I'm gonna do the one that I think is most likely now. The Chaos chapter, Void, Abyss, or Rift. So this idea of a gaping hole is hardly unique because we literally saw Yeonjun planted where the subtitle would be with a gaping hole. So that imagery of a like empty hole, emptiness, is really prevalent already in the TXT universe, and we've seen it in direct relation to this like particular album. And I do actually think that that was a hint. And I think a lot of you agree with me because I had so many variations of like void or abyss or rift, like separation or emptiness, something like that. Those things, a lot of people suggested like similar words. I just chose these particular words because I think they sound cool. Yeah. There was actually a popular edit going around earlier that was for the Chaos chapter Void, which I will link in the description. It was a really nice edit of the album. This is what it looked like. I thought it was cool. I like the logo design. Obviously this is fan made, but I just wanted to share it because I think the fandom is so amazing and they create some like really cool things. I think every time that there's a comeback that's been announced, someone will design an album and they're always so like pretty and just, ugh, I can't believe it. Anyway, now I've already previously broken down what I think this like hole and Yeonjun kind of might signify beyond the obvious, like he died again narrative. But just to reiterate, it mentions several different ideas. The idea of loneliness, the separation between himself and his friends, the like fact that he feels empty because he, you know, the friendship is breaking apart, he's missing a piece of himself. So there's like a whole lot of things thematically that you can do with that idea of hole and emptiness, abyss, a void. It's exciting. The list just keeps going on, and like I said, it could tie into that idea of a black hole, which is thematically the opposite of like a star, which is why I chose these specific words, void and abyss specifically, but also a rift, because I just thought rift was cool. Also, it starts with the letter R for smaraldos. Anyway, a void is just absolutely nothing. If you have a box that is empty and you look in the box, the void is the emptiness. It is absolute nothingness. There's nothing there. It just feels like such a fitting thing for what we see like with Yeonjun, where he feels empty, and like I feel like a lot of what they're doing is kind of like compensation for memories that they're maybe missing. There's a void in their memory, there's a void in their friendship, an abyss in their friendship, which like is along the same thought line. An abyss is kind of like a space that is between two things that is just so like unbelievably large. We've actually seen the word abyss used before within the Big Hit universe as well. My heart deep in memory's maze, save me. Eternal dream, the deepest abyss. Jin released a song called Abyss. in a showcase for BTS, which I can't show photos of, unfortunately, but there was actually an extra room that you could go into in this showcase, and it was called Abyss, and when you entered the room, the only thing in it was a blue sky and the whale flying around in this room called Abyss. And we know the whale is in both of these storylines, so I do think Abyss is a very, like, possible word for them to use, just because they have used it before. And not only that, but this abyss, this rift, could be the reason why the chaos is happening in the first place, or perhaps why the chaos needs to happen to, like, bridge the two sides. I don't know. I feel like abyss is just a really strong contender. While void means, like, absolute emptiness, an abyss is the infinite rift between them. And actually the word rift, which is a similar meaning to abyss, we've seen used before as well, specifically in relation to the Eternity album. This was like in a lot of press releases that were done, so I think it was words that Big Hit gave to publishers to write about this album, and the words were, "The two versions of the concept photos each capture a longing for eternity and the moment a rift forms within the friendship for the first time." Rift. Interesting choice of words there, Big Hit. Could this rift, this hole, this abyss, be the reason for the chaos? I don't know. Personally, an album with this name would sound really cool. And since I did get a lot of suggestions with this particular theme, I do think that you guys kind of agree with me on the whole. Just look at my face there. I was so proud of that joke. Anyways, I did want to mention a few that I think are possible, but maybe don't have as much reasoning behind them, or maybe are a little bit less likely because there's not as many tie-ins. So let's just speed run through those really quick. This is all just speculation, so keep that in mind. I don't know, maybe they'll go with the Chaos Chapter stairs, not elevator. I wouldn't have put that on the list, but, like, go for it. The Chaos Chapter heart. So this is based off of Kai's specific imagery, both, like, way at the beginning, and it's also his pain. However, I do think that since Kai's arc is most likely going to be last after Taeyoon's arc, which, like I said, is probably next, I can actually see, like, the subtitle heart being, like, the second or third iteration of this album, assuming it's not following the Smaraldo's idea. The Chaos Chapter Star, or the Chaos Chapter Dream. I really like the idea of the album, like, names that we've already seen coming back around, and then they're changing it. Like, this was when the Dream version, and now this is the Chaos version, and I feel like that would be really cool to see. They have the theme of Rewind, and that fits in the theme of Rewind, and it kind of brings the story back around to what we've seen before, but then, like, add something new to it, and I think that would be really cool. The Chaos Chapter Cosmos. I think that a lot of things in the TXT universe have to do with the galaxy, the cosmos, just in general, so something related to space would be a really cool subtitle. I just thought the word cosmos was a good word, so thank you to the persons that suggested that one. But yeah, especially with the, like, alien ideas, I could see them highlighting this theme for an album. Chaos Chapter Rewind, or the Chaos Chapter Reality. These are both within these Smaraldo theme things, again with the letter R. I mentioned Rewind, I think, in one of my previous videos, where I talked about what, like, as an example, what it could be called, but I did get quite a few suggestions with this, and that's fair because we see them literally rewinding time, like, often. Likewise, they are less in their dreams and now they are in realities, so reality is another possible word. Once again, though, I'm just not sure how this would tie in with other things that they can do with the album, so I do think it's slightly less likely. The Chaos Chapter Mirror. Now this is the one that I really like. We've seen a lot of imagery with mirrors. I always talk about how Magic Island essentially mirrors things back to TXT, like they're, like, subconscious. We've seen Maze in the Mirror, we've gotten mirror imagery, them literally going into a mirror. The ending of Eternally, Subin is looking into the mirror. I could see them doing a lot with it, especially because mirrors, like, reflect you back, so there's a lot of different things that you could do thematically with the word mirror that I could see them building a whole album around. As for ideas that were not mentioned that I didn't really see anyone talking about, the bear, first of all. This bear has been around since Runaway in Magic, and we got it randomly, a picture of it in the Eternity album, and it didn't even show up in any of the music videos. I can't think of a specific word that would associate it with it, like maybe an illusion or something like that, but even then I'm not sure, because it's, like, kind of referencing all of them. I don't know. I do think it's more of a visual aspect, so I think it's less likely, which is probably why no one mentioned it. But I did want to mention it just in case. Doors. We see a lot of doorways. We see them passing through doorways, and that idea of like passage is really important in the TXT universe. Like we see them going through doors or not wanting to go through doors, or like whenever they do go through doors, it leads somewhere like unrelated or unexpected. This is also in the like BTS universe, sort of metaphorically. So there's a lot that you can do. I also think doorways are a very important thing. I don't think they would use the word door. I think it'd be more like passages, like to pass, to travel, but I can't think of a really good word for it, so that's why it's here at the end. And mazes is the final one that I think it could be about that I didn't really see anyone talking about. I think maybe one person mentioned, but mazes, like the maze of the mind, I think it's a reference to Magic Island. I think that you can do a lot with it because the idea of like a mind labyrinth is not unique. It's something that is really prominent in philosophy and psychology. But yeah, I think it's actually like an underutilized point of their story, and it's kind of mentioned a few times in their like songs as well, like Maze of the Mirror, for example. To be honest, if anything could even like remotely connect to a maze, it could be a knot. I would be like, yeah, because it's a maze of threads. I would consider that a win. That is all I have for you guys today, my friends. Thank you for speculating with me. I had a lot of fun reading through all of everyone's comments and stuff like that. If you aren't following me, I've posted this on both Twitter, Instagram, and on my like community here on YouTube. So you should follow me on my social media, especially my Twitter. That's where I'm the most active. So if you do want to chat with me, your best chance of getting in touch is definitely on Twitter. If there's an idea that you have that I didn't mention or cover, leave it in the comment section below. If there's like a really unique one, I'm gonna pin it to the top of the comments. So anyways, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you are subscribed with notifications turned on so that YouTube tells you every single time that I post a video. All of my social media is linked in the description below. Like I said, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Discord server, it's all down there. I'd also like to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon: Riley Carr, Alacia S, Lame Game Hero, Maria Pena, Savage69er, Amanda Strickland, Shirley, and Jade. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay sunny, everyone. Bye!